It's a real pleasure to have you join me today on Paint a Beautiful Picture. Today, I'm going to talk about difficult moments in disciplining a child, and let me promise you, there are plenty of them. I'm going to tell you about a very specific incident with one of my sons, and I do, in fact, have his permission to share this with you. When he was around 4.5 years old, on our street corner, they were doing some massive sewer work. So there were big fences around this place. They literally tore up about a 14-foot square hunk of the road, like way down to nothingness, and were deep down into the sewers trying to repair, I guess, a big sewer main, like 2 feet in diameter, that had broken. This went on for about 3 days. There was a mama cat in our neighborhood who had had kittens. I don't think these kittens were more than a week and a half old. Their eyes were open, so I know they were about a week old, but they were little, little vulnerable kittens. One day my son was outdoors playing in the yard, which he had permission to do, but he didn't have permission to leave the yard, of course. And all of a sudden I'm in my kitchen and I hear this, I mean, desperate crying of an animal. Thought, wow, somebody's after that mama or her kittens. And it kept up. I went outside, and my son was over near this sewer's barrier, but he was outside of the fence. And I said, David, do you have any idea what happened? No, ma'am. And the guys were on a break. I couldn't find any guys. I actually disobeyed the law, I guess you could say. I went in there and I looked down. Here's this little kitten in the actual sewer. So in all this waste. Of course it can't swim. Of course it's too small. It's practically dead already. I just started screaming at the top of my lungs. And one of the guys who was in his truck down the street heard me and came running. I said, I need you to go down there right now before this kitten drowns. And thankfully, he did it. He went in there and he got this kitten out. He's like, I don't know what to do with this. I said, just give me the kitten. I mean, in my own shirt, I wrapped up this kitten. I went in the house. Of course, my sons followed me. And I washed up this kitten and I dried this kitten with a hair dryer. I had no way of knowing how much this kitten had ingested or if this kitten was going to live. Oh, I was beside myself. Returned the kitten to its mother. And then my one son said to me, and tattling was not allowed at my house. I hate it when someone tells on someone else. You're supposed to take responsibility for your own actions and say, I did whatever. But that wasn't forthcoming, and my younger son knew how critical this was. Guess I just told you which one of my sons did this. And he said to me, Mama, Davy threw that kitten in that sewer. Okay, then. If you think I was not emotionally upset before, you've never seen me around a cat, and you don't know how I think about getting lied to. Let's just say I was furious enough to hurt somebody. I said to my son, I will meet you in the bathroom. He said, I'm not going. I said, son, if you have a brain in your head, you need to start walking to the bathroom now. I already told you, Mama, I ain't going. I said, great. I took that kid by the arm. I took him in the nearest room there was. And God help us all, it was the bedroom. Because the spoon is in the bathroom. But there's a belt in the bedroom. Now, I already told you. I whipped my kids with a wooden spoon. It doesn't really hurt them. And someone asked me, did I take off their pants? No. I whooped them with their pants on. Baby, I got a good arm. I don't need to do this on a bare behind. I picked up a belt. I didn't have a discussion. I put that kid across the bed and I whooped him like 10 times. He stood up. He said, you didn't hurt me and I'm not sorry. Whoa. I put him across that bed again. I whipped him like 10 more licks on his behind. And I realized that's not a lot, just so you know. I mean, I wasn't killing him or anything. I was just whooping his behind. He stood back up. I already told you, I'm not sorry. You know, I'm telling the truth to you because I have no reason to lie. I bet you that kid got 100 licks with the belt that day. He and I have talked about this many times. He said, Mama, you never whooped me like that. I said, yeah, because you never did wrong like that. You never tried to kill something like that. You never lied to me like that. You never defied me like that. Let's talk about this, Mom and Dad. So I just told you the honest truth about probably one of the worst events of my life as a parent. I have no reason to lie to you. You will face moments with your children you don't even know what to do that will pull all of your ideas right out of the frame. I'm acknowledging this to you, okay? Still, it does not give you an excuse to do wrong. Notice I didn't say I did wrong, but we'll get to that. Just, it does not give you an excuse to do wrong, okay? Which means later on that day, after my son sat in his room for about an hour, I was not ready to talk to him until that point. And he had to wait for me that day. And I went in there and I said, David, I have to tell you 3 things. A, I was really angry, and in my anger, I sinned. Remember, I told you it's really okay to be angry, but you can't do wrong when you are. And what I did was, instead of dealing with what you did in a calm manner or waiting until I cooled off, I acted right that minute in my anger. That was not wise. I really want to apologize to you that I did not show you a good or a godly example by acting in anger. Not okay. That's on me. 2, if you are ever going to attempt to hurt someone or something, or kill someone or something, you better guarantee that I'm going to get in your way, and I am not going to allow you to do that. It's not okay. I don't care what. I don't care if somebody just beat the daylights out of you and you pick up a crowbar and you decide you're going to go after them. You may not hurt or kill anyone or anything. I'm going to get in your way. And I'm probably going to be emotional when it happens. So you should be prepared for that. And 3, my real commitment to you is that you learn how to behave. And how you behaved today was not acceptable, but how I behaved today was not acceptable either. So we need to pray about this together and commit to one another that no matter what happens in the future, we're going to do better together. And at that same place where I whooped his behind next to the bed, both of us knelt down and prayed and asked God to help us. You might say, well, I don't think anything like that ever happened to me, and can't believe that my kid would ever do something like that. Do you think I actually believe that my kid would do something like that? Because I promise you, that was very out of character. He's even said it to me as an adult. Mama, I don't even know what went through my mind that day that I decided I was going to kill this animal. Like, what in the world? He's a very compassionate, really giving, kind human being. I don't know what to say about that day, nor does he. This is what I want you to know. You will have some very difficult moments as a parent. Your child may do things that just shock you right out of your mind, and you may jump and respond in a way that even opposes your own established guidelines and ideas. I really want you to get that. It isn't so much how you handle the difficult moment, especially the first time or the second time. as it is, what do you gain from it? And what is your child going to gain from it? Let me give you another illustration that might help you. Okay. A number of years later, this same child took off with my $80,000 sports car. He didn't have a driver's license. He wasn't insured. And he was out driving it at more than 100 miles an hour when he got stopped by the police. When the police called me, they said, "Miss Newby, we'd really like you to come to the police station, pick up your son." "Miss Newby, did you hear me?" "Oh, yes, I did." "Are you going to come pick him up?" "No, not really." "Oh, he said you'd say that." I was like, yeah, he's right. He said, "I can't put him into lockup. He's a 16-year-old, exceptionally good-looking kid. If I put him in lockup with a bunch of adults, some real bad things are going to happen. I need you to come pick up your son." I said, "Okay, I'll be there." I drove to the police station. I'm walking down the hall. The policeman and my son are coming toward me. My son looked up and saw me, and he yanked his arm away from that police officer and went the other way down the hall. He's like, "Oh, yeah, I don't want to face my mama." And the policeman brought him to me. And I signed all the paperwork and did everything I had to do. And we got into my car and we started going home. And he said, "Aren't you going to say anything?" A couple minutes later, "Mama, are you going to say anything?" Do you know what? I learned a lot in those intervening years. Sometimes when we're really angry, the best thing we can do is shut it. I mean it. You got to get a hold of yourself and wait until you're prepared to handle the situation. I learned something. Do you know what? I didn't talk to him at all that night. We got home. I just pointed down the hall toward his room, and he went there. I mean, not a word passed between us. I had nothing to say to the boy. I wasn't going to lose it. I wasn't going to go off. I wasn't going to give vent to my emotions. I knew enough to just hold my peace. I learned something. I'm not going to tell you how I dealt with that situation, but some people thought it was pretty severe, the consequences that he went through on it as a result of that. But he has thanked me over and over and over and over again as an adult. Do you know what? You have to learn from your mistakes. Isn't that what we're trying to do with our kids? Help them learn from their mistakes. They're going to make them, and so are we. It's really okay to say, "Oh, this was like something I never imagined. I didn't know my kid was capable of this. I can't even believe it. Like it has nowhere in my whole reality that I can put this." Okay. And maybe your kid will never do that to you. But I got to admit, I'd be stunned if they didn't. Most of the parents I've counseled with, at some point, it's happened. In those difficult moments, don't beat yourself to death if you don't handle it well the first time, or very truthfully, the first number of times if it happens more than one time. But get the lesson. And don't be afraid to stand in front of your kid and say, "I really didn't handle this well. I let go of my anger. I said things I shouldn't have said. I did things I shouldn't have done. I reacted badly. I handled this poorly." Learn to have enough courage to say that to your child. Because once a kid knows that an adult can mess up, it takes a lot of the pressure off. Human beings, we mess up. And then learn, learn, learn. Because when your child finds out that you can learn from your mistakes, they find out they can learn from their mistakes too. Do you know that that very son of mine nowadays, he counsels a lot of people too? And one of the main things he says is, A truly wise person learns from their mistakes. He has this down so well in his mind and in his spirit. So, mom, dad, you didn't handle it well? Okay, welcome to being human. It's really all right. But own up to your mistake and do better the next time. I know you can. My challenge of the day for you is this. A, if you've already faced one of these difficult moments, ask yourself, how did I do? Acknowledge what you did badly. Did I ever tell my kid I was sorry? B, if you've never faced any of these moments, own up to your own humanity. I have a really bad temper. If something like this happened, I would be really likely to, blow up, cuss the kid out, smack him around, beat the daylights out of him, whatever. And now that I've heard about this and I've got some time to think about it, how will I hang on to my temper? Will I put my hands in my pocket? Will I do deep breathing? Will I count to 1,000? Will I make the kid go to his room? What am I going to do? Because sometimes preparation is a really good thing to have in advance. Thank you so much for joining me today and looking truthfully at difficult moments in disciplining our children. May you have a humble heart to admit failure to your children, and may you have a shining example to show them what it's like to admit to doing badly and learning to do it better. You may find additional information on our paintabeautifulpicture.com website. Additionally, you may watch me on Rumble, and you may also listen to a podcast on Buzzsprout or Spreaker, all under the name Paint a Beautiful Picture. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. You may subscribe, and if you are interested in receiving notifications, please hit the notifications button.